Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really big, kind of controversial idea from economist Jeremy Rifkin. What if capitalism as we know it is evolving into something totally new? We're going to break down his whole theory of a zero marginal cost society, which he says is a new economic era, all driven by tech and collaboration. So let's just start with a question that gets right to the heart of the weird world we live in now. I mean, think about it. When you download an ebook or stream a movie or, share a song with a friend, what does it actually cost to make that extra copy? Practically nothing, right? It's basically free. Now, this isn't just some little quirk of the internet. It is a fundamental economic shift. How can a market system, which is built entirely on setting prices to make a profit, survive when the cost of making more and more stuff is just plummeting towards zero? That's the huge paradox we're going to unpack. Okay, so let's get into this. The absolute key to understanding this whole thing is this one concept, marginal cost. In a traditional factory, if you want to make one more car or one more t-shirt, it costs you real money for the steel, for the cotton, for the labor. But in the digital economy, and now more and more in other areas like energy and manufacturing, technology is just crushing that additional cost down, down, so close to zero, it's crazy. And as Rifkin argues, this isn't some small adjustment. Nope. This is an economic force so powerful it could literally change everything about how we produce, how we consume, and how we live. Right? So this unstoppable push towards near zero marginal cost, it creates this massive fundamental problem for capitalism. Think about it. The entire system runs on profit. Profit comes from selling things for more than they cost to make. But what happens if the cost to make the next one is basically free? Well, a competitive market should, in theory, push the price down to free as well. And that creates this huge dilemma that hits right at the core of the market economy. And this isn't just some radical idea from way out in left field. We're talking top economists like Lawrence Summers and J. Bradford DeLong. They saw this coming years ago. They looked at information goods and saw the problem. Economic theory says the price should equal the marginal cost. But if that cost is zero, how on earth does a company ever make back the millions it spent to create the thing in the first place? Their solution was, temporary monopolies, which they admitted was not very efficient. They even wrote, and I'm quoting here, "We do not yet know what the right replacement paradigm will be." I mean, that tells you just how deep this paradox really is. This slide just lays out the scale of this shift perfectly. I mean, look at this. On the left, you've got the old world, the second industrial revolution. It's all about centralization, high costs. Think of a massive top-down company like AT&T back in the day. Now look at the right. That's where we're heading, the third industrial revolution. Power is distributed, networks are scaled sideways, think Wikipedia, and the marginal costs are near zero. And culturally, this is a huge move away from a world defined by what you own to a world defined by what you can access. Okay, so if the capitalist market is hitting this massive zero-cost paradox, what's filling the void? What comes next? Well, Rifkin argues that as the market recedes in some areas, a really old idea is making a powerful, technologically supercharged comeback. And that idea is the commons. This idea of sharing resources isn't some new age fantasy. It's actually a huge part of human history. For centuries, back under feudalism, peasants in Europe managed land and resources together, collectively. That was the commons. But then came the enclosure movements. These common lands were systematically privatized, literally fenced off, and turned into private property. That huge historical shift laid the very foundation for the market economy as we know it. But now, it's like the pendulum is swinging back. We're seeing the rise of a new kind of commons, a digital, collaborative commons, where people are sharing again, not just land, but everything from knowledge with open source software, to entertainment, to even physical goods and services on a global scale. So what's really crucial to get here is that this isn't just about getting free stuff online. The collaborative commons, as Rifkin sees it, is basically an emerging economic system in its own right. It's this whole sphere of life where communities of people, you could call them prosumers because they're both producing and consuming, are working together to create and share a massive range of things. And because it all runs on the internet and peer-to-peer networks, the marginal cost is near zero. It operates right alongside and sometimes in direct competition with the traditional marketplace. All right, I know this might all sound a bit theoretical, but the evidence is actually everywhere. And maybe the most powerful sign of this new commons is a really deep cultural shift, especially with younger generations, away from this obsession with owning stuff and towards a preference for just having access to it. Just try to get your head around this for a second. A recent survey asked young people, between 18 and 24, what they'd rather have: internet access or their own car. And nearly half of them, 46%, chose internet access, the car. That was the absolute symbol of freedom and ownership for the entire 20th century. Today, for millions of people, that symbol is connectivity. This is not just a fad. This is a profound generational shift in our values, where being connected to a network is actually more valuable than possessing a physical thing. And this shift in values is fueling a multi-billion-dollar sector we call the sharing economy. This is not a niche trend, people. It's absolutely exploding. Globally, you've got over 1.7 million people in car-sharing services. And get this, for every single car that's put into a sharing fleet, up to 15 privately owned cars are taken off the road. Then there's Airbnb. They booked over 10 million nights in just a couple of years, basically rivaling the biggest hotel chains on the planet without owning a single hotel. Now, of course, this model isn't perfect. It raises all sorts of new questions about labor and regulation, but the core logic for the consumer is just so powerful. Why own something you only use once in a while when you can get access to it cheaply and easily through a network? So what's making all of this possible? What is the technological engine that's driving this gigantic transformation from a market economy to a collaborative commons? Well, Rifkin argues it's a new intelligent infrastructure that he calls the Internet of Things, or as some people are calling it now, the Internet of Everything. I want you to think of this as a global nervous system. We're embedding billions and soon to be trillions of tiny little sensors into every device, every building, and every natural system you can imagine. These sensors are collecting unbelievable amounts of data, what we call big data, and they're feeding it all back into the network. So in smart cities, you have sensors monitoring traffic to find the best routes, or even checking the health of bridges. In the environment, sensors can track pollution in real time, or give us early warnings for wildfires. Even our own bodies are getting connected, with sensors that monitor our vital signs to predict health problems before they happen. Every single one of these applications is designed to dramatically increase efficiency and drive the marginal cost of managing all these systems way, way down towards zero. So this all leads us to the ultimate question. What does this mean for our future? As this Internet of Everything creates a super efficient society, and as the collaborative commons grows, it directly challenges the dominance of the capitalist market. We're entering a hybrid era, where these two powerful economic systems are going to coexist and compete for probably decades to come. And Rifkin argues this is more than just an economic shift. It's a psychological one, a cultural one. An economy that's built on scarcity and ownership kind of encourages a materialistic view of the world. But an economy of abundance and access, one built on a collaborative commons, well, that could bring out a whole different set of values. When our basic needs can be met at near zero cost, maybe that relentless pursuit of more and more stuff starts to lose its grip on us. And maybe our focus could shift towards what actually makes us happy: community, connection, and what Rifkin calls empathic engagement. The value we look for might come less from what we own and more from the richness of the experiences we share. Look, this transition from a world run by markets to one where a collaborative commons is a major player, it's not going to be simple. It's not going to be without conflict. But it forces us, all of us, to face this really profound question. And why does this matter? It matters because the answer is going to redefine our very idea of economic progress, of social well-being, and maybe even of human nature itself. We're at this incredible turning point in history, moving from a world built on exclusion and ownership to one that could be about inclusion and access. The kind of future we end up with really depends on which path we choose to follow.